following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Hey guys, this is Chuck Palumbo, and you're watching the Insider's Edge podcast.
Hi, everybody. This is former WWE superstar Al Snow.
CW Anderson.
Sean Oliver.
My name is Eugene.
And you are watching the Insider's Edge podcast.
Now get on the train.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Insider's Edge podcast here on the WCWA Network in conjunction with Blue Wire Hustle. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, Karlifornia in Fury. It is great to be with you all again. And tonight, my friends, another bucket list guy is on the show, somebody that I've been searching high and low for. And I want to give thanks to Mr. Alan Funk for helping me get into contact with this man right here, right now. You know, one stage in the history of this planet, you could have mistaken this man as Tarzan. But he is the one and only former multiple-time tag team champion, and for a short period of time was actually the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. He's the one and only Chuck Palumbo. How are you, sir?
Hey, Carl. I'm great, man. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too, sir. And Chuck, usually the first question on the show every single time is, how did you become a wrestling fan when you were a young man?
A wrestling fan?
Yeah.
Or... You know, honestly, I wasn't a wrestling fan growing up. I knew who Hulk Hogan was. I knew probably who, Randy Savage was, Macho Man. He had the Slim Jim commercials going and stuff like that. Yep. But I didn't really become a wrestling fan until I actually got into the business.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. That seems to have happened for a few guys that I've had on the show as well, though, which is, it's always an interesting way to come about getting involved in the business. So I know you did a little bit of indie stuff, and this is just from my research. I'd seen that you were involved in a segment with the Cat Ernest Miller on an episode of Nitro before you actually offered an opportunity to be at the power plant. Is that true?
So I was actually at the power plant when that happened.
Okay.
I want to say, I think it was Terry Taylor came down and said, hey, do you want to, come out to, I think this was the Target Center, Milwaukee. And Terry Taylor said, hey, you want to come and do a little segment? And I said, yeah, sure. At the time, I had never been on TV or anything like that. So it was just a little something. And I want to say I probably got paid for it too, which was good because at the time, I don't think I was getting paid at the power plant. So
right.
it worked out. I forgot about that, man. I haven't even thought about that in years. I forgot about that. So thanks for reminding me about that.
Excellent. I seem to be the one that ends up bringing up these things that a lot of people forget. So that's at 1 point for me so far here.
There you go.
So please, the power plant. We've had a few guys on the show have the opportunity to tell us about their experiences at the power plant. I know Mr. Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker was quite a tough man, of course, and a lot of people couldn't hack it. Even ex-Marines and athletes all across all sports couldn't handle it. Tell me about your experience at the power plant.
So initially, I saw the ad on television. That's how I got into wrestling. I saw an ad on TV. I think I was just kind of like surfing through the channels, and I saw wrestling. I think it was Monday Nitro, if I'm correct. And I saw these guys wrestling. I don't remember who they were, but I remember them being big guys and being great athletes, and it sparked my interest. So I watched for a little bit, and I saw the ad pop up for the WCW power plant. It said, you want to be a wrestler? And it had a phone number. And I basically called the number. And eventually got through and got a date for a tryout. At the time, I want to say they were trying out 20 to 30 guys, maybe a little more a month.
All right.
It was $250. You had to fly your way down there on your own dime, put yourself up in a hotel, get to the building. It was the old power plant, the old dungeon. And it was $250. You had to have a money order or cash. You give that to them, and then it was basically a weeding out process. Yeah. 73 days, 72 hours. If you made it through it, there was a chance you could come back. In my tryout, at the end, I think I was the only guy left. And they pretty much said, hey, if you want to come back, we'll train you. It's going to be $3,000. At that time, I believe it was a lot about money, right? It was their little deal they had going on, 30 guys a month, $250 a pop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know the wrestling business, right? There's always some kind of scam going on. So yeah, I made it through. They invited me back. I went back to California. I saved up some money and pretty much packed everything I had a K5 Blazer, like an 83 K5 Blazer with a U-Haul, and me, my girlfriend, and my daughter, who was a year old at the time, we drove across country with everything we had. And that was it. So I kind of wanted to just give you, where I started there.
Yeah.
But the power plant itself was grueling. It was the only way for the guys who were there. And I'm talking about the Alan Funks, the Johnny Stambolis, the Mark Jindraks, and the Skippers and the Sanders and all those great guys. It was our only way in. We didn't know anybody. We weren't second generation. We didn't have friends who were in the business. Personally, I didn't know how much was a work, how much wasn't a work. So it was our only way in. So we had to put up with what we put up with if we wanted to break into the business. So that being said, yeah, it was, and they knew that, and they pretty much beat us silly. I mean, daily, worked us to death. A lot of it wasn't about wrestling. A lot of it was about discipline. So it was very paramilitary style, thousands of squats a day. And I'm not exaggerating. You can ask the other guys, the thousands of squats a day, same with push-ups and all kinds of calisthenics. And that was before you did anything in the ring.
Right.
And then when you got in the ring, you were learning how to take bumps. So tons of back bumps and, flips and hitting the ropes hard. And the thing was, they didn't set you smart. They didn't educate us beforehand on how to do things. They said, just go in and do it. It was all about, being tough and making it through. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. They were trying, they didn't want to let just anybody in the business. I get that. But at the same time, it was a barbaric way to train. And looking back, at times I regret training that way because I put a lot of wear and tear on my body, right? So, right. But again, at the time, you're naive. I saw the opportunity for what they said was a 6-figure contract, which it was eventually. But I saw that, and I was motivated to break in and make it, and just like the other guys were. So we put up with it, and that was pretty much a full-time job. So we were there in the beginning. Most of us, the first 6 or 7 months, we didn't make a dime. We had to pay to be there, and it was basically 9 to 4 or 9 to 5, roughly, Monday through Friday. That was it. On the weekends, all those guys I mentioned, we'd all get together because we all hung out. We were all buddies, all trying to make it in the business, which was a fantastic time for us because we were all enjoying that camaraderie, all had the same goals in mind, and we all had the same work ethic. And it's very rare that you get a group of guys who have that work ethic. Very rare. You don't see it today, especially that many guys.
Absolutely. And that's a hell of a class of guys as well, I must say. That ended up, you all kind of came up onto television together, it seemed. But one question I wanted to ask was, how long did you train in the power plant before they finally brought you to TV?
I want to say at the 7-month mark, they sent me to Japan, to New Japan. I did TV over there, New Japan. And then I came back, and I want to say I did some Saturday night TV tapings. Oh gosh, but I don't know how I'm guessing maybe a year. I don't remember. You'd have to ask some of the other guys like Alan Funk and some of the other guys. They got they know everything about everything we did. So a lot of times I'll refer to those guys,
Fair enough.
I'd say about a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I can fill in some of the blanks here because it appears your debut in WCW is on Saturday night. This is from my research. March 2nd, 1999, teaming with your boy Mark Jindrak to take on great friends of our show, Disorderly Conduct, at the Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Does that sound about correct?
It may be. Did we do TV that night or just a live house show?
I believe that was an episode of Saturday Night.
See, I always thought my first match was with like at the Rome, Georgia Civic Center, but I might be wrong.
Let's have
That's
a look.
horrible, right?
I've got all the
horrible,
information in front of me here. Let's get to the bottom of this right here. Geez, Rome, Georgia is the 28th of September 1999. It's the first one I see against Johnny the Bull Stamboli.
Yep.
But it appears before that you had that tag match with Mark in March, and then 2 matches in September on the 4th and 5th on house shows against Hardbody Harrison.
That may be right. I do remember wrestling with Mark early on, and it might have been the show you're speaking of. And I remember I was so excited. I want to say I jumped over the ropes before I even got the tag to come in.
Right.
I was so nervous and so excited. I want to say I jumped over the ropes and before, I was so excited. But anyway.
So yeah, you do make those appearances and the appearance in Worldwide against Johnny the Bull. And obviously those matches with Hardbody Harrison. I know he was a bit of an oddball. Do you have any stories of what he was like?
He was a wild dude, man. It's funny because he was like, and I think he would even call himself, he was like a thug, right?
Right.
Thug kind of guy. But he was a hard worker. He was tough as nails, but he always had some type of scam going. You know what I mean? He was just, he was always working some angle. But honestly, my personal dealings with him, he was very helpful, and he taught me a bit. So yeah, I really never had any issues with him, but I know he bumped heads with some guys, but he was always good with me. I do remember on a TV taping, I think I super kicked him because, early on my super kicks were kind of, a little bit out of control, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I want to say I super kicked him in the side of the face. I think I might have knocked one of his teeth out. One of his teeth fell out.
Yeah.
So I do remember that. But yeah. But honestly, when he was at the power plant, because he spent a lot of time there, he worked hard. I mean, he was nuts, but he worked hard. Yeah, did he ended up getting locked up for like pimping or something?
Some sort of thing where I think the ladies weren't allowed to leave the house or something like that. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
So it was kind of like held against their will almost. I don't know. I think he might have.
Hey, you know what it is, man? At the end of the day, right? We all come from different backgrounds. So you never know. You don't know how he was raised, right? Yeah. Who knows? But he was a character. Yeah, absolutely.
So like from there, Chuck, I do remember this because I've seen every episode of WCW Saturday Night. That's how much of a nerd I am.
That's Hey, you know something, man? That's fantastic. That's awesome.
To me, it's important for me to be able to say I've seen every piece of WCW programming from any of those syndicated shows that not many people would have caught, but I've seen everything. But one thing I noticed is there was this particular period of time just before Vince Russo came in where all of a sudden Saturday Night was just this influx of power plant talent. And I could list off them all, but I'll be here a while. But you have this run of defeating Mark Jindrak, Sonny Siaki, Devon Storm, Jindrak again, Mike Sanders, Rick Cornell, aka Reno, before suffering your first singles loss against Lenny Lane on March 14th, 2000. Did the company see big things in you from the outset? Because it seemed like, from my perspective, they were continuing to keep you strong on TV, winning week after week.
Sure. I think that was heavily influenced by Jimmy Hart.
Okay.
I think Jimmy Hart was kind of running that at the time, and he was trying to get some of the younger, newer talent out there. And I think that may have had a lot to do with him. I really do. To be honest, like I really didn't know for sure if they were like, no one ever told me, hey, we're gonna push you hard, kid. You know what I mean? No one ever told me that. But I could sense that they were, they liked me, and they, decided to put me over on people, which was fantastic. I gotta tell you, and everybody who's watching or listening, I was super green. I learned on TV, like when I was in WCW early on, especially, well, the whole time, but especially during the Saturday night TV tapings and stuff, I was super green. I was still learning my whole career, obviously, but at that point, I mean, I was really green, and I was learning on TV. Most of these guys, back in that era, most of those guys worked indies and non-televised events for years before they got an opportunity on TV. So, we were super, super fortunate. I mean, we worked hard. Don't get me wrong, and they needed some change. There was a lot of guys. It was their time to go and time for some new guys to come in. But at the same time, we were still learning.
Absolutely. And speaking of being under a learning tree, your Thursday Thunder debut was March 21st, 2000 at the TD Waterhouse in Orlando against Scott Steiner. How did this one go? Was it a tad daunting, still being green in the business, and here you are working with Scott Steiner?
It was awesome. I do remember that match vividly. And honestly, Jeff Jarrett, a lot of people don't know this, but I knew Jeff and I knew Scott just a little bit from Coffee's Gym. Coffee's Gym in Atlanta was a famous gym in Atlanta. And I bumped into Scott there a couple times when I was at the power plant. I would go to the power plant and then work out at Coffee's Gym in Atlanta. And anyway, so I met Scott prior to that, but didn't know him that well. But it was real cool with me and real nice to me. I remember. And then that Thunder, I want to say Scott had just come back. He had back surgery a while back.
Yeah.
He just come back. He had rehabbed it. He looked fantastic. I remember Jeff making that happen, Jeff Jarrett. He might remember more than me, but I remember Jeff coming up to me and say, hey, listen, I talked to Scotty. You'll be working with him. Bop. And actually, believe it or not, he took care of me. Everybody, people have the wrong. I know Scott's one of my close friends. I talk to him all the time. I've been close friends with him since then. And I knew Rick well too after, but his brother. But a lot of guys don't know Scott is one of the most down to earth, solid human beings you'll meet. He's a family man. He's a great father. He's got a fantastic wife, great kids. A lot of people don't know that about him. They just see what they see on TV and all the BS, but he was solid. And he took care of me, and we were friends since.
That's great. I'll tell you one thing about Scott Steiner. When I was a kid, I was like, well, my dad had already kind of given away to me that this wasn't entirely real. But when I watched it, I was like, I was convinced, but Scott Steiner, he's the only one that's allowed to do real. Well, everything he does is real. And for some reason, I thought the Big Boss Man as well. But I always thought Big Boss Man and Scott Steiner, they're allowed to be real for some reason in my little head.
Right.
That's what I believed. So he got me.
That's a great point that you bring up, man, because think about it. They were believable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's big. The way they moved, the way they worked, the way they a lot of guys, I hear guys complain about like people being stiff and stuff. As long as you're safe and you're not hurting people, if you're a little snug, I mean, this isn't tiddlywinks and it looks so much better. Yeah. When you see guys throwing, because I see it sometimes today, and it's not a knock. We have all the wrestlers are fantastic, but I see some weak punches here and there, and I see some stuff that looks a little too pretty. And I go, this is pro wrestling, guys. So, I always told my opponents, hey, look, I apologize now. I'm going to be safe, but I might be a little snug. And I would say, but please give it back in return. I think it makes for a better showing, you know?
I agree 100%. Yeah, I see it today sometimes. I'm like, man, come on, I can do it better.
Yeah.
Just sometimes. But yeah, like, and speaking, you know, from my perspective, I always thought you had one hell of a right hand. Great work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I always prided myself in that. That was one thing I always wanted to make real good, because when you see a weak punch, it's just, you know, it's not good.
That's it. And you know, when I think
you.
of the great punchers in the business, there's 4 names that come to mind: Bob Cook, Bobby Eaton, Scott Hall, Chuck Palumbo. They're my 4 favorite working punchers.
Well, I would agree with you on those other guys. I studied Scott Hall's punch and kind of made it into my own.
Yeah.
But I'd be lying if I didn't say that. I studied his punch because when I saw it, I was like, oh man, that punch looks good. So I kind of tried to study that punch. At the time, we had VHS only, right? We didn't have, you know, WWE Network, or you couldn't just go on YouTube or anything like that. There was no YouTube. So I'd get VHS tapes and I'd watch his punch. This is later on in his career.
Yeah.
He was a big guy also, but he had real good footwork. He was smooth, had solid, everything was solid. He was you know, towards the end of his career, he really evolved and he was good.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you say that, because all those years I always used to think, I bet Chuck likes Scott Hall's punches. They're just always in my mind.
There you go. There you go.
So out of the gate, okay, this is crazy. You know, for a young guy, when you get brought to TV, you know, you're being named the main event. You're going to be working with Lex Luger. You work with Terry Funk in a hardcore match. You're working with Diamond Dallas Page. Right out of the gate, and this is the Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff era. And I know Vince is writing the show, and you know, he's obviously he sees something in you, and he's putting you in this great position. How did you feel coming straight in? You know, you'd been doing the Saturday night stuff. You've been doing some of this other stuff, but now you're in the thick of it right out of the get-go.
Honestly, I was living a dream. I was living the dream. You know, think about it, right? Here's a young guy. Now I'm starting to make a really decent check, right? Really decent payday. You know, I come from very humble beginnings. I never had anything growing up, and it was, you know, my parents were, you know, blue collar, and you know, so to make it. I say make it but to get to a point in wrestling where you're making good money and you're on TV and you're working with top guys, it was just, it was incredible. It was probably one of the most memorable times of my career, and one of the most fun for sure. Looking back, I'm not sure if I realized how fortunate I was after learning, when I finally learned the business, because it takes years and years to learn the business. And when I say learn, I'm not talking about in the ring. I'm talking about in the ring, backstage, contracts, you know, the whole 9 yards, politics, because unfortunately, but you know, the facts are the facts, all that stuff's part of it, right? So yeah, I was super lucky. We're having the time of our lives, man. I mean, can you imagine all the power plant guys traveling on the road together? I mean, we were having a blast. We were, you know, and we were on TV, and you know, back then, to be on TV back then was a bigger deal, a lot bigger deal than it is today, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of because you couldn't watch, there was no YouTube. There was none of this, there's no internet. So when you saw someone on TV, it was big. And we knew that, and we were like just so grateful to be there.
Absolutely. You know? Yeah. I mean, there weren't as many options back then. So, you know, you got millions upon millions of people watching WCW, WWF at the time. You're going to be seen as a massive deal. You know, it's not like now where there's 500 channels and Netflix and all the streaming services, where there's 1,000,001 people now that are on television. But
exactly.
You formed the perfect event. Sorry, Chuck, keep going.
No. I was just going to say, so it was just a great time to be doing it.
No worries. But yes, you form a team called the Perfect Event with Sean Stasiak. And the next thing you know, you won half of the tag team champions. When I'm looking at my research, I was like, wow, I didn't realize that like some of this stuff came so soon, but this is fantastic, and for Sean as well, who was such a hard worker, with his dad being a former WWF champion and never really getting the recognition that he deserved. Now he's getting something great as well. So how does this feel to be able to share this with someone like Sean?
It was fantastic. I mean, because he was a good worker already. He was still young and very energetic and very excited about being in the business. He was very excited about being in the business. So, it was a great time. He's a character. You have to know Sean. Like I felt like I got to know Sean pretty well when he was my tag team partner, and he was a character, a little quirky. He had a unique sense of humor, but I found him funny. And he was a good-hearted guy. But we had a lot of fun. And again, I think he felt the same way. It's like, wow, here we are, young, on TV, wrestling, doing what we love to do. It was, can you imagine? I mean, put yourself in our shoes, right? So
absolutely, yeah. You're having fun
awesome.
with your bros on the road. You're on TV. It's a dream right there. And I'm sure you've talked about the Natural Born Thrillers to death on many interviews, but I can't do a Chuck Palumbo interview
That's
without
okay.
talking about that. Yourself, Sean, Mike Sanders, Sean O'Haire, Mark Jindrak, and Reno. This group is formed, and you're running a little roughshod over the company here for a while. This is fantastic. I really think Vince Russo came up with a pretty. I assume it was his idea, but I think this is a great thing here to put all these young guys together. And as he always used to say, he would try and break down that foundation that they always relied on and try to get some new, fresh faces out there to get some new stuff. Because there's only so many times you can see Hogan and Flair wrestle each other. You might want to see them wrestle someone else as they get over.
Absolutely.
But one thing I did find interesting, and please also talk about, how you felt about that idea. But 21st of August 2000, I believe is the date. For a solid minute, you were WCW World Heavyweight Champion.
That's right.
It's an amazing little moment there. But tell me about your thoughts on the idea, but also, at least for a second, how it felt to hold that belt up in the air, even though you knew that there was going to be a swerve.
Right. So the Natural Born Thriller idea was fantastic. And that was a little bit of us as a group and Vince Russo. Vince Russo, it's tough because he took a lot of shit, and honestly, he had good intentions with the young guys, and it was a great idea, and it was on its way into becoming something. We were so ahead of our time, and I'm not bragging about us as a group, but I'm really proud of those guys. We were all so ahead of our time as far as our size and athleticism and what we were doing. Yeah, we all were green and still learning how to, the real inside psychology, but we were on our way, and it was just a fantastic time. But you remember he got a lot of pushback too, because there's a lot of politics going on, and he's getting pushback. He's trying to fight that. So it wasn't easy for him to do what he wanted to do, But and then to get to the point where I actually had the strap for a minute or so, it was just, it is. I never cared about really being a champion. It never really meant a ton to me. I felt like it was a prop, but at the same time, it makes you feel important as far as the company goes when they're actually doing that with you and putting that on you.
Yes, you're talking about the belt. You kind of feel like it's more of a prop, but when you get given a belt, it's the company is showing that they believe in you, and that means something.
Absolutely. So I was very excited about that. It was just a great time, and like we're talking about, this is early on. I'd only been in the business a short period of time when all this is happening. So, was very fortunate.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, who knows what would have happened, right? If WCW was still here, or at least lasted another 5 or 10 years. Who knows what would or could have happened, right? You never know.
Absolutely. You never know. That might have actually, been something that they would go back to as you're getting a championship opportunity and you win the belt. He had it for a minute once, but it got taken away from him. Whatever. Anyway.
You're right.
You become tag champions eventually with Sean O'Haire. May he rest in peace. After defeating the Insiders, not just to play on my podcast name, but Kevin Nash and Diamond Dallas Page at WCW Sin on January 14th, 2001. So this is pretty big,
Oh, yeah.
You're working with two massive legends in the wrestling industry on pay-per-view, and you're going over. So I guess, the politics didn't affect this match as far as some of those top names are concerned. How was it working with Nash and DDP?
It was fantastic. Those guys were big believers in the young guys. They took a liking to us. Kevin especially. Kevin taught us a lot, not only in the ring, but outside the ring. He taught us a lot about how to navigate through the business. Kevin was he was great about that. And we hung out with him a lot. So here we are, young guys. Yeah, after the show, we'd be down at the hotel bar hanging out, having a beer with them, and we'd be getting an education from them. We really would be. So it was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Awesome,
like you said, two guys, legends in the industry. So couldn't ask for more.
Absolutely. And I think you're maybe the first person I've interviewed that worked that pay-per-view Sin. And I gotta bring this up because I just want to know your perspective. Poor Sid, when he jumped off the top rope and he broke his leg that way, one of the worst things that I think I've ever seen in wrestling. What was the reaction backstage? What was your reaction when you saw that happen? Because it's one of those moments in history which are just, gosh.
I was right there. I remember helping carry him.
Oh gosh.
And I'm not sure if he remembers this, but I remember right there. And he was in pain. And he's a big, strong man. And when you see a big, strong man with a scared look on his face, you know he's in pain, right? When you see a big, strong man with fear in his face, you know he's hurt. So breaks like that are gross anyway, right? Thank God. I think what saved him from possibly rupturing an artery, or because it would have been even uglier if he didn't have those high boots on. It'd be curious to ask him if he thinks that really made a difference, because can you imagine if he wasn't wearing those high boots?
Yeah.
So I think that really played a role in not making it any. I mean, I'm not discounting the fact that it was gory. It was gruesome. That's a good term, gruesome. But thank God he had those tall boots. He wore those very, very high boots. I think that was a blessing.
Absolutely, yeah. Who knows how much worse it could have been. So this is early 2001. At this stage at all, are you hearing any rumblings about the company closing down or being bought, sold, whatever?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we were hearing about Eric possibly buying it. They might have, I don't remember, I can't recall the name, but there might have been someone else who was interested in it. And I don't mean a single person, but maybe a company or a business or a corporation. But I can't remember for sure. But yeah, there was talks of Eric buying it. I think that was it. Yeah, that was it.
Right.
As far as as far as Vince buying it, I don't think we found that out until the last minute.
Oh gosh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. It seems to be the general consensus is that like when everyone found out that Vince had bought it was either the week of or the day of the final Nitro, which is one I want to get to because this is one of my favorite questions to ask on the show. I've had the chance to have a few people that were there. Christine Johnson, who's a producer, Neil Pruitt, who was working behind the scenes as well.
Sure.
Scott Hudson, who's obviously on commentary. But the final Nitro, March 26, 2001, Club La Vila. Panama City. You and Sean O'Haire walk out the final tag team champions, retaining over Lance Storm and Mike Awesome. Can you please tell me your recollection of that whole day and what did you do after the show?
So yeah, I remember Shane. I remember the locker room, and I remember Shane walking in the locker room, Shane McMahon, introducing himself and kind of giving us the 411 on what was going down. I remember it was kind of an eerie feeling. I remember it was an uncomfortable feeling for the WCW guys. We didn't know what was going to happen. No one told us what was going on. So we really didn't know what was going to happen. I remember the match. Mike Awesome, God bless him. He was a sweet man. Yeah. And then Lance Storm, obviously, he's a gentleman, great guy, gentleman, taught me a lot. Yeah, I just remember not knowing what was going to happen next. I mean, you got to wonder, right? So we're on top of the world.
Yeah.
2 weeks prior to that, we're on top of the world. 2 weeks later, we don't know if we're going to have a job, if we're going to be able to stay in the industry at all, in any capacity. So it was a scary time, and not only that, we have mortgages, we have children, not just me. I'm speaking of everybody. We have bills, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a uneasy time. But fortunately, I got picked up right away. Well, then actually, I went right over right away. Fortunately, but after that, I don't remember after what happened that day. I remember we hung out. I don't know if the kid Steve-O from Jackass.
Yep.
I remember hanging out with him, but I don't know if it was in Panama City, but I don't know if it was that night. It might have been a different showing. But us, a lot of the Thrillers and him. Anyway, but yeah, I don't remember much about after the show. We always had a good time after the shows. All of us just hanging out. We're young and we're all buddies, so it was fantastic. It's funny how much the locker room changed when I went to WWF, because like in WCW, like I said, we're all buddies, we're all hung out. It was a great locker room to be in, believe it or not. And that all changed when we went to WWF. It wasn't as much fun, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So Chuck, as you were saying, okay, your contract got picked up by the WWF. That first day, I believe this is the date, June 18th, 2001, where you make your debut. I believe you and Sean kind of come in and rough up the Hardy Boys. How did the locker room treat the WCW guys coming in? Because from what I've gathered over the years from other interviews, it was a little icy.
Yeah, I'm sure those guys look back now and go, "Wow, we were immature." But yeah, they didn't treat us well. I mean, it was almost like they believed that this competition between WCW and WWF was personal. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a business. But yeah, they weren't welcoming. You know how that goes, though, right? That's an old school mentality. It's a little different nowadays, but that was an old school mentality. You had to earn your spot. I get it, but could it have been better for everyone, including them? us and the business, absolutely. If they had befriended us and we worked together and did it right. But, you know, that's how things go sometimes, right? That's their territory. That's their home. Here we come.
Yeah.
I look at it this way. If you're, as a talent, if you're there, then you deserve to be there. If you've gotten to that point, then you deserve to be there.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're a jerk or you're disrespectful or you're mistreating people, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But if you go up there with the right intentions, you're polite, you're respectable, I think you deserve to be there. But, you know, that's just how things go. If I was to run a business, I wouldn't have allowed it. But then again, does Vince know this is all going on? Maybe not. So, yeah, there was some game playing. There was some BS. But, yeah, it was part of it, I guess, at the time.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, when all this is happening, who would you say was the first guy from the other team that you connected with and became friends with?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Was Steve Regal already up there?
Yes.
Okay. He was definitely one of them. Very helpful. Billy Gunn. This is before we tagged. Great guy. Very helpful. I remember those two guys. This is a good question. I haven't thought about this. I appreciate that question. So, yeah, Steve Regal, Billy Gunn. I'm sure there was some others. But off the top of my head, yeah, maybe those two guys.
Excellent. And I love when someone says that's a good question. That means I'm doing something good. I'm asking something that doesn't get asked very often. Okay, I'm just going to say it. The WWF completely mishandled the angle as far as I'm concerned. I think anyone could have come up with something better than what ended up happening. What are your thoughts on how they handled this invasion angle? I mean, look, it was incredible seeing the invasion pay-per-view because you never thought you would see it. But what happened after that? Your thoughts on the run?
Well, here's the thing. It was the most real time in the industry ever. The only other time it was that real, as far as I know, was probably when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash jumped ship.
Yeah.
Right? Showed up on Nitro.
Yeah.
Why wasn't it capitalized on more? I mean, here's the most real time in the business where you have real tension and real talent from two real companies merging together, where in the past there had been real competition as far as television ratings goes. Why didn't we use that? It was right there. So yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to say this now, right? At the time, I probably didn't know what to do either, but I would think that management at this point, you know, but then again, Vince is not the only guy there, right? He's got a lot of guys underneath him that are in his ear and, you know, so you don't know what's going on, but yeah, it could have been way better. And I think all of the talent, I may be wrong, but I think almost all of the talent will agree.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a universal agreement. I think they really could have taken their time a little bit, just a slower build, because this angle could have gone on for 4 or 5 years if they wanted to, because you could wait for those guys in their contracts with AOL Time Warner to run out, and you can bring them in slowly but surely, and you could have all these dream matches and all this stuff. But you know, it is what it is.
Hey, listen, I was glad to be there. You know what it is? I was glad to be in the industry at that time, because that'll never happen again.
Yeah.
There'll never be two companies that established where one gets bought out by the other. That'll never happen again.
No, definitely not. So it is special in one way, but also on the other side of the coin. We all know. I wanted to bring this up. It was 17th of September 2001 on Jacked. And October 2nd, 2001, you worked with Billy Gunn for the first and second time. You've already answered this because the question was, did you two click from the get-go? But does this end up leading to discussions that you're going to be put together because you're getting along, the angle's coming to an end very soon? How did the idea come about with Billy and Chuck?
So honestly, the facts, I don't know, because obviously in the industry, you just never know why things happen, like as far as to the fact. But they had, at the time, Billy wasn't doing anything on television. Sean had been sent down to OBW, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So I'm by myself now. Here you have Billy, who's a very experienced veteran, and then me, young and new, and still new and young in the business. So it was a good combination, obviously, just to get us working in the ring together, even though it was just, singles matches.
Yeah.
So it started there. And then I'm not sure, I'm guessing maybe Billy had spoke with producers or management and said, hey, I'd like to work with this kid. Maybe, I don't know. Because when we first started working together, we were, Billy Gunn and Chuck Palumbo, we weren't doing the Billy and Chuck right in the beginning.
Yeah.
If you remember correctly. I want to say we probably had at least one tag match, at least one before we were actually Billy and Chuck. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You watched all the matches, you said. So
I've seen it all, bro.
So then I do know that the Billy and Chuck thing itself, I think that was built up because of cable television network ratings week. So that whole Partners for Life or wedding ceremony was supposed to happen on that actual night.
Right.
And it did. And I think it ended up being the top rated cable show that night. I think that's why they went that way. Now, in the beginning, was that the plan? I'm not sure. They just, I was just told by maybe Sergeant Slaughter, Vince, and maybe Paul Levesque. I want to say they just told me, hey, you're going to have, you're going to do this flamboyant gimmick with Billy. You guys are going to have platinum blonde hair and you're going to wear robes. That was really the extent of it. And then as the characters evolved, we did more and more. And honestly, man, it's funny because some guys will give you shit and say, oh, how come you played that character? It's like, really, dude, I tell people this all the time. We may not be the greatest actors, but we are, in fact, actors to a point.
Yeah. Right?
We're playing a character. You're playing a character. Don't take it personal. Have fun with it. And we oh, man, that was the easiest money I ever made. We had so much fun.
Absolutely. I'm going to get to a lot of that later on, but some of the segments backstage were just hilarious. I don't care what anyone says. You two, when you're both on the floor stretching your groins or whatever, and you got your asses all
yeah.
poking out the way that they were. It's just some great stuff, man. I don't care.
Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you appreciate it, man. We had so much fun. I can't tell you. Jeez.
Yeah, I can tell it'd be hard to keep a straight face through some, no pun intended.
Oh yeah.
But one thing I wanted to bring up, I'm sure you've conversed with Alan about this, but were you aware of what kind of happened to a lot of your boys from WCW that were in Heartland Wrestling and also OVW? I want to bring this up because I feel like this is like a tragic day for a lot of these guys. There's a day where I guess the office come down one after another. They're brought into a room, Elix Skipper, Reno, a whole bunch of guys, one after another. They're all just getting let go. And I think the only one who managed to survive all of that was Johnny the Bull Stamboli. But Lash LaRue, Allen, all of these guys that were on television, WCW, and starting to do really well right near the end, they found themselves back in developmental as the invasion angle was going on. Were you aware of what happened to all of them? Because I kind of feel like they got screwed over pretty badly there.
They did. They honestly did, and it was unfortunate. I think it could have been handled better.
So the last thing that you said was you thought that they could have handled it better. That seemed like a pretty good end to the answer there, but it's true. But out of all the WCW guys that came across post invasion and alliance and all that angle, you seem to really flourish quite a lot out of most of them. I know Chavo did quite well, but a few others, they weren't used to their potential, but you're being used to your potential here. You become World Tag Team Champion with Billy by defeating Taz and Spike on the February 21st edition of SmackDown. How does it feel for you to have been able to come over and I guess that the company, obviously see something in you and are giving you an opportunity?
It was a relief, number one, because, as I said earlier, you just never know what's going to happen. So it was a relief. And then once I felt like I kind of established myself there as a person where they got to know me, I thought, okay, hey, I'm going to be okay for a little while. I mean, you never know in this industry. This industry can be downright cutthroat. But they took enough of a liking to me to keep me and continue to use me. And then obviously, put me in the angle with Billy, to get to work with Billy, you're talking about a guy who's just an incredible athlete, incredible worker, tag team skills are just, up here. Yeah, I was very fortunate. So yeah, I was still very happy. It wasn't like WCW. I wasn't having the fun I was having in WCW. It was more like I had more pressure when I got to WWF. I felt like there was more pressure. In WCW, I felt there was a little bit of pressure, but we were having fun, and everybody around me was having fun. It was just a good time. But yeah, just happy that they still had me there. And we're using me. So,
yeah. And speaking of pressure, this is exciting to be able to perform on a WrestleMania, at WrestleMania 18. You must be floating on cloud 9 to be able to perform in front of all of those people at that pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was, I remember, I think it was Air Canada Center, maybe Toronto, right?
Yeah.
I remember walking down to the ring and it seemed like forever. And it sounded like that buzzing noise. And it was it was amazing. Once in a lifetime opportunity. And like I told you before, we spoke about it. I come from humble beginnings. So to be able to do that and have that opportunity, that was huge. And I think did we retain the titles?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think we did. Yeah. So yeah, it was awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, man. I just, when you find out someone, or you're going to interview someone and they worked on a WrestleMania, you got to ask about that. I want to bring it to Rico, the stylist of Billy and Chuck. I don't know how he's doing these days. I haven't seen any updates on him in a while, but I hope he's doing okay.
I do too.
Yeah. And after this, I'm going to see if I can do some research and find out how he's doing. But did you enjoy working with him? Because he was fantastic. He really was.
That guy, he played that role to a T. He was a great worker. Regal could do it all. He could do it all. And we had a great time with him. And, as far as the characters go, you think about it, you got Billy, myself, and now we hire a stylist. I mean, that was fantastic. Yeah. That was fantastic. And he took that character and he played it up to a T. Took it as far as he could take it. It was fantastic. It's crazy. Can you imagine if we never did the wedding or the Partners for Life angle? We just kept going. Yeah. I mean, who knows where that could have went?
Exactly.
But and also you got to look back. Like, there was no talk about the genders and gender identity and same-sex marriage and all. There was really no talk about that. This was cutting-edge stuff at the time. Can you imagine if we did it today? So, but yeah, great guy to work with, great worker, played the character to a T. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? If that happened today, you guys would get cheered for that segment. But back then, a lot of bull going on in the crowd there.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is like we were supposed to be villains, but we were over like baby faces when we were working prior to this actual night. Yeah. And I just remember the crowd getting a great reaction from the crowd. And I think when they thought we were swaying the other way with this the ceremony, I think they're like, "Oh man, come on, guys," Yeah. Yeah, man, just a fun time. Fun time.
Absolutely. When I was watching this back then, I was adamant that Lenny Lane and Lodi were going to show up, and we were going to have this feud. Because they'd done this kind of tag team in WCW. I don't know, was there ever a thought in anyone's mind at all? I mean, I've asked them, I've had them both on the show as well. Ever anyone mention, hey, maybe that might be an idea?
They didn't, but that would have been a fantastic idea. Those guys were both cool guys, good guys too, from what I remember. I think it would have been cool, and it would have worked.
It would have
worked.
Because they would have been like, we were the first gay duo on TV, and we'll set up right there.
Hey, we never said we were gay.
You never said it though, and I don't think they did either, because they ended up being brothers or something like that, whatever it was.
But that's what made it so fun, right? Because we weren't making fun of anybody. We respected what we were doing. We respected, what it was about. But we were like bros, right? It was like we were like these bros just having fun.
Absolutely. And you know what? They got taken off TV doing that gimmick because of apparent complaints from people. But they said to me that the gay community actually loved what they were doing and was so glad that they were being represented on television. So it's a strange thing, isn't it? That there's complaints, but at the same time, actually the gay community are happy to see characters, portraying.
Absolutely. And they're probably right. When they said that, I believe they were completely right, because I remember the same thing with the Billy and Chuck characters. I remember being on the Today Show. I wish I could see that again. We were on the Today Show, and I remember Katie Couric telling us beforehand, she was like, "Hey, you guys are getting a lot of gifts are being sent to the studios from the gay and lesbian groups who liked us and who enjoyed what we were doing." Obviously at the end of it, the writers, they switch up the angle, and I get all that. But until that point, I thought they were very happy with us, because in a way we were representing them, right? In a way. Yeah,
exactly.
And especially when you start talking about the same-sex marriage and stuff like that. So I was happy for them that we could play that part. And now it's normal, right?
That's it. Yeah. And let's talk about the ceremony here. Bischoff in makeup as a celebrant. His story of that day himself is incredible. How he was in his outfit and makeup all day, and no one backstage actually knew it was him. This is one of the best segments of all time, as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, Billy and Chuck decide not to go through with this because it's supposed to be a publicity stunt. And I would say The Godfather, that part of the segment, man, Godfather killed it. He killed it. That was such a great moment in the segment. But obviously, it all breaks down, and 3-minute warning, attack you both, and it gets, all thrown out. But from your perspective, the whole time it's so funny because you keep checking out Billy's ass, and it's just what's your fondest moment or memories of this segment?
Oh man, I just remember just it being so much fun. Because think about it. I mean, this is gonna sound weird, but it's kind of fun to play those parts. I don't know, for whatever reason, it is fun to play those parts, right? And we were just like acting like complete goofballs playing these parts. And I just remember trying not to laugh. You know what I mean? I remember like going, I'm like, oh man, this is great, but I can't be laughing. So yeah, especially when The Godfather came down, right? It was the dynamic of all these different characters getting involved in the same idea with different perspectives. It made for great television. And then I want to say we had the Weather Girls, those two black girls, awesome singers. They sang "It's Raining Men," I think. That was like the song for it. And I'm going like, oh my God, this is nuts. This is nuts. But yeah, I just remember it being I was entertained. Do you know what I mean? Like I was entertained. I was inside of it watching all this going on. I'm going, oh, this is fantastic.
I love when Godfather was he comes out and he's talking about how, you know, Billy was quite the ladies' man with his hose back in the day, and Chuck, what happened, Chuck? You know, you were one of the greatest skirt chasers of all time, although you liked the hefty girls or something like that.
Exactly. I'm like, oh man, I didn't know he was going to say that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everything he said, I had no idea he was going to say it. So I was being entertained. You know what I mean? Yeah. And caught off guard.
And I think there was a moment where Billy said to Rico, he was saying like, I'm not gay, and I've got nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with gay people, but if I were gay, I would marry Chuck or something like that. And that's when I see you burst into laughter.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you're in character or not, but I watched it earlier.
I think we both felt the same way. You know what I mean? It was funny.
It was fantastic, and I was, you know, hook, line, and sinker. I had no idea that was Eric Bischoff until he pulled off the makeup. That was just like an amazing moment in television history, as far as I'm concerned. Champagne television.
I agree with 100%. Wasn't that amazing, man? I mean,
it was.
I have to ask Billy. I have to ask Billy about this, but I don't remember if we knew until the very, very last minute. Do you know what I mean? Like right before we went out there, maybe or maybe not. I don't remember, but I just remember how well it was done, and he worked everybody. Eric is he's a great talent, number one. He's got a great mind for the business, so he had that down. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah. Even with the shaking hand and everything. Gosh,
yeah,
it's just like
great.
It's the little details really made it.
Yeah, you don't see that anymore too often.
No, you don't. And this leads to a match between 3 Minute Warning and Billy and Chuck at Unforgiven. I remember seeing you guys, you invaded Raw to get back at them, and I think you're both just topless with just some jeans on, and I was like, man, they look like badasses now. Like, let's see this new era of the Billy and Chuck tag team. But
yeah,
I believe Billy gets injured soon after this, and the team quietly breaks up. What were the discussions like with that? You know, were you hopeful that when he came back, you'd get the team back together, or was it just like, well, now, you know, it's probably just not going to work out that way? What happened there?
You know, honestly, we really weren't told anything. That's one thing about the business. A lot of times you don't learn anything until the last minute, if at all. So we really weren't told much. Basically, Billy was out in injury, and I want to see. You'd have to ask him. I don't want to speak on it because I'm not sure, but I want to say he may have been going through contract negotiations also.
Okay.
I'm not sure how fast he wanted to come back. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I might be way off, but this is what I kind of remember. But yeah, he had a serious shoulder injury. I remember when it happened. We were wrestling the Guerreros in Canada, but. Yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen next. And in the back of my mind, I was going, oh man, this may be it, which was unfortunate, but it's part of this business, right? It's part of this. If someone gets hurt, I mean, that's it. If you're hurt, you're pretty much worthless to the company.
That's it. Yeah. And I know that you worked a bit of singles after this. Then you get put in the FBI, and when I was watching some stuff earlier, man, you shown your range here. You were doing Billy and Chuck, and now all of a sudden you're a paisan with Nunzio and Johnny the Bull, and you got that big cigar, and you really played your parts very well there. And I know Paul Heyman, he was running SmackDown at the time, and it always seemed like the FBI were doing something. Like anything that they would do, it always affected other people and what they were doing in their angles. I really loved this. How did you enjoy working with both of the guys, and what are your fondest memories of both of them?
Well, first of all, I enjoyed it. It was incredible. I enjoyed working with Billy Gunn so much. I mean, it couldn't get any better than that. And then the same thing with Johnny and Nuns. Two fantastic guys outside the business and inside the business. Great guys, great friends. And we were having fun again. I mean, we had fun. So the FBI, I understand that was a creation by Paul when ECW was around. I get it. And they had their version, which was fantastic. Those guys were all fantastic, talented guys. We had something a little different, but I thought it was special. And it was nice because we had some creative input. And obviously Paul was a big help. But I grew up in New England, in Rhode Island. And, there's a ton of Italian Americans there. So these little innuendos and these little things that we do are very natural to me because I've seen it growing up my whole life, right?
Yeah.
I didn't move to California until I was 20 years old for the Navy. So up until that point, I mean, I knew those characters. I knew guys like that. I knew bookies. I knew guys that were, legitimate gangsters. I knew all those guys. I knew guys who were, hustlers, street hustlers, and, I knew all that stuff. I knew guys who were selling stuff out of their trunks. So it was very easy to relate to all that. I never got involved in anything like that, but it was easy to relate because I had seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to take it and to make it almost comical was so much fun. It was so much fun.
It was brilliant. I watched a segment where Nunzio's, you guys walking up to the Undertaker, hey, Taker, we need to have a sit down,
Yeah.
No, I mean, The Sopranos is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. So it's kind of like Sopranos brought to life in WWE, which I love.
Yeah. There you go. I agree 100%. I looked at pop culture. I thought about Sopranos, and I thought all that just blended so great with all that. And that's basically what we thought it was. And we lived it up. We lived it up and had a great time.
Absolutely. And you get to work with The Undertaker a little bit. Tell me about that. This is probably the greatest of all time right there.
Yeah. So obviously Undertaker, living legend, one of the greatest of all times for sure. It was fantastic. We had some good matches. I thought we worked well together. Again, like I said before, here I am, still not that deep into my career. 6-7 years at that point, maybe. I don't know. And I'm working with Undertaker in big matches, him and Brock Lesnar and stuff like that. So and Eddie Guerrero, guys like that. It was fantastic. And he was easy to work with. At the time, he was easy to work with us, and we got along well with him, all of us. It was a lot of fun, man.
That's cool, man. And one thing that this is probably around the time, I guess soon after this, I kind of stopped watching a lot of WWE at the time because maybe it's about 2004, 2005 where I start to lose a bit of interest. But I don't actually know how to pinpoint when that group was disbanded. Was this another thing where you just found out that they were going to break it up? Why do they break up such a great little faction like that? It's another one of those things.
I'll never know. I heard we were, I heard there was some politics involved with maybe a producer backstage. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, it's not even worth mentioning because I don't really know if it's the truth. But you never know. So, here's the thing. In the wrestling business, and I know you know this, one or two persons' opinion of you can dictate your career, right? So you never know why things like that happen. The carriages were over. We could work with anybody. We all knew how to work. We worked with big guys, small guys. We all knew how to bump. We could, we had it down, and the characters were solid. I believed. So you never know, right?
Yeah. One of those things, as usual. Soon after, you get a change in gimmick. So I never saw this at the time, but I did a little bit of looking back on YouTube today. It's like a gimmick, like you're a mix like with an auto mechanic and a greaser. And you get released at some point during this gimmick's run in 2004. What was this idea, and where did that come about?
So at the time, I wasn't getting any input from anybody. Nothing. I would just show up and they'd put me in matches. That being said, I was trying to get to that point with the motorcycle kind of that I did later. Yeah. That's where I was trying to head in my own mind. So I was actually trying to get that going on my own. I just decided to change my outfit. I was thinking about pop culture at the time. The reality shows and the car shows and all that stuff was starting to really get some momentum. The Jesse James shows and the Orange County Choppers, all that stuff was just starting to come around. It was just starting to come around, the Chip Fu stuff. And I was into all that stuff. I had been building cars and motorcycles my whole life since I was a kid, 14 years old. So I was trying to kind of like capture pop culture at the time in that area of it. And they didn't, unfortunately, WWE didn't get it,
Of course.
So they, unfortunately, like a lot of times they didn't really get what pop culture was.
No.
If that makes sense.
No. Well, I mean, yeah. I don't think Vince McMahon watches TV, so.
Right. So yeah, he didn't get it. And so that didn't work, obviously. And then, I want to say my last match might have been against Rosie. And he's another guy who passed away. So many guys we've lost, right?
Yeah.
We've talked, just so funny that in this conversation today, Sean O'Haire, right? Just things I've been involved with. Both of, 3-minute warning, both guys gone. But anyway, so I do remember, one thing I do remember, which was funny. I want to give you a little insight on the business. And I'm not knocking the business. I enjoy all my time in the business. It was fantastic. But just so you can kind of see how things go sometimes. So Jamal or Eki, we called him Eki, but Umaga, right? Yeah. We knew him as Eki. He told me, because, he was friends with Rosie. Prior to that match, he told me, hey, look, I heard they're going to release you. I had no idea. But they had told Rosie and told Eki or Umaga, but they didn't tell me, if that makes any sense. So I knew that going out there before the match.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, it's just funny how the industry works, right?
Yeah.
It's a great life experience though, because you learn a lot. Your social IQ goes through the roof. You really learn how to navigate your way through life. If you can navigate your way through the wrestling business, you can navigate your way through life.
Absolutely. So I guess you find out you're getting released. And I know soon after this, you go to All Japan. You wrestle in Italy with Johnny the Bull. And the first thing I thought was the Italian girls must have loved you too. I can imagine that they would have gone wild for you too. How was that experience with him after you both had left the company?
It was awesome. Actually, it's so funny because we come from a down point, right, of WWE, and all of a sudden, boom, we go to Japan, and it's like they're like, "Wow, you guys are good." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just have a great time over there. That could have went on forever. The only thing that was tough for us was it just was the travel and the schedule was tough for us. You know what I mean? But that could have went on forever. And then, Italy was fantastic. Obviously, the FBI gimmick.
Yeah.
Myself being Italian American, going over there, it was just fantastic. They welcomed us with open arms. That was fantastic. And then we actually started going to Mexico City also. And that's how that all happened with Mark Jindrak ended up becoming Marco Corleone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what happened was I ended up they called me, asked me if I wanted to come back to WWE. So I ended up coming back. And so Johnny needed a partner and he asked Mark to come down and they turned Mark into an Italian. And then Mark had a long run down there.
Yeah, I think he was one of the first Americans to become the CMLL heavyweight champion. He made a hell of a name for himself down there.
Absolutely.
So you do go back to WWE. Who made the call to you? And out of the gate, you get the biker gimmick you always wanted. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I don't remember who I spoke with. I don't know if it was Taker or Rey Mysterio, or were they on the phone together talking to me? And then I might have got a call back from Johnny Ace, and I ended up going down to, I want to say Birmingham. I think I was in Mexico City. I had some obligations. Then I flew from Mexico City to Birmingham, Alabama, and I wrestled Rob Van Dam in a dark match in Birmingham.
Right.
I think I can't believe I can remember that, but I think that's what happened. So I do that match. They're all stoked to have me back. And then I ended up signing a deal for 2 years. That was 2006. I signed a 2-year deal, and then they sat me at home.
Right.
Sat me at home and paid me very well for a year before they brought me and we started doing the vignettes for the motorcycle stuff, which was my idea after speaking with Vince.
Right. It drives me crazy that this is people's jobs in creative to come up with something for somebody and bring them onto TV.
Yeah.
Look, I know that a lot of people bag out Vince Russo, but like as soon as they would tell him, hey, we've got this guy, he'll think of something and he'll put him on the show a few weeks later. I don't understand this whole thing of having people sit at home doing nothing, collecting a check. It just blows my mind. But anyway,
yeah.
I just wanted to put that out.
Trust me, it blew my mind too. So I just stayed in shape. I want to say I was what I would do. Me and Rey Mysterio would go down to TJ and wrestle in TJ just to have matches and stuff.
Right.
And that was really it. And then I want to say they put me on the road. I had been building bikes on the side like I had always done. And I think I had like a magazine, motorcycle magazine, where one of my bikes was on the cover, or I was on the cover. I don't remember, but I showed Vince and I said, hey, like, this is kind of what I want to do. And again, going back to that pop culture thing, that was what was going on.
Yeah.
That Discovery Channel stuff, all that stuff was hot. And Vince said, let's do it. And we started doing it. And then, obviously the only issue is, although Vince might be on board, a lot of times that word's not getting around to other producers and other writers and stuff. And, it eventually started to fizzle out.
Right.
May that be partly my fault? Maybe. But I think when we got to the point where they had me with McCool, and I was starting to be this abusive psycho boyfriend. That's when it got distasteful to me.
Oh, right. That's what happened. Okay.
And I was like, but I continued to do it because that's what they were paying me for, as a character. But yeah,
it should have been more of a fun-loving kind of. He's a biker guy. He's got the hot chick on the back of the bike. Who would complain about having Michelle McCool on the back of their bike?
Right.
Sure, Taker does that quite often. So, like I thought, and you think of the merchandise, you think of the figurine with the motorcycle. Kids are going to love that stuff.
Yeah.
All you need is the company to get behind it. And I know for most of the run with this character, you feud with Jamie Noble. How did you feel working with him? Because, like, you know, throughout your time in the company, you're always in a team or you're in a stable. Now you're finally like the singles guy. This is actually kind of, if I'm correct, possibly your first singles angle against somebody else, and it's right at the tail end of your career there. So this is important in the career of Chuck Palumbo. So how did you enjoy working and feuding with Jamie?
It was okay. I mean, I wasn't crazy about it, to be honest with you, only because, and this is not anything personal against him. It was okay working with him, but I felt I needed someone to help bring me up. So I was hoping that they would put me against another character that was very strong. I felt that at that point, that's what I needed, was a stronger character to help elevate what I was trying to do.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
but they didn't do it. So, and like I said, you never know why. So, but I was happy to be doing the gimmick. When we first started, I was, using the motorcycles and enjoying it, having fun. But they never really, I was hoping they'd, kind of start to intertwine me with some of the top guys.
Yeah.
But you never know why. Grateful to have had the run.
Absolutely. And I thought the matches that you two had were pretty good. And I kind of used to, because this is like, again, during a period of time where I'd watch every now and then. And I noticed that you looked quite a lot like Slash from Guns N' Roses, which is why I'm wearing this shirt tonight. It was either between this or the Bada Bing shirt I got in my,
that's awesome.
my room. But okay. What led to you leaving the WWE this time? Because I'm pretty sure I saw an interview with you and Vince Russo a little while back, a few years ago, where you told a story about, I think you'd had an injury, and as you were coming out of what, can you please just tell that story? You were coming out of getting checked up on by the doctor or something like that.
Yeah. And again, I'm not, I don't mind telling the story. I like the people that kind of know what happens in the business, but I'm not bagging on my time in the business because I had a fantastic time.
Of course.
But these are some of the things you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So I needed to have shoulder surgery.
Okay.
So I they weren't using me that much at the time. So we agreed that I'd go in and have it fixed.
Right.
So I'm seeing my surgeon in San Diego. I have the surgery. Now I'm out of surgery and I'm rehabbing on a regular basis. Now, if you know about shoulder surgeries and rotator cuff surgeries, it takes a while to come back 100%.
Right.
So I'd only been rehabbing it for a few weeks. And so one day I'm at rehab and we're doing the work on the shoulder, and I come outside, just finished. I leave the building and my phone rings and it's Johnny Ace. No, I'm sorry. It's not Johnny Ace. My mistake. It's the redheaded kid, Chris something. He was like a doctor or something.
Chris Kamen?
Maybe. I don't remember his last name.
Is
he still with them?
Chris Amon, maybe. Chris.
Okay, maybe. I'm not sure if he's with them or not. I just remember he had red hair and he's a doctor. But anyway.
Yeah, Chris Amon.
He calls me and he tells me that it was kind of weird. He calls me and he says, "Hey, how's your shoulder going?" I said, "It's going good." I said, matter of fact, I just got out of rehab. Just stepped out. And he said, "Oh, well, they want to get you back on the road." And I go, "Well, I'm still rehabbing my shoulder. I'm not ready to wrestle yet, It takes a minute for it to heal, And he goes, "Well, they just want to get you back out there. You don't necessarily have to wrestle. You might be ringside, blah, blah, blah." You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I go, "Oh, okay." And I'm naive at the time. And I'm just so excited to be able to get back on the road and just be out there with the guys. He says, "Well, listen, if you go back," he goes, "if you can get your release from the doctor, if you can get your doctor to sign off and release you, saying you're ready to go, then we can get you back out on the road. Now, you got to remember, for people who don't understand this, if you're under a doctor's care, you cannot be released from your contract.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I'm under a doctor's care. So again, he's telling me, yeah, if you go back inside, if you go back and get your release from your doctor, we can get you back on the road. So I said, okay, great. I should have known. I was in the business long enough that I should have known better. But again, I was a little bit naive, and I was eager to go out and help and get back there. So I turn around, and before I get to my car, I walk back in. I go to my doctor. He goes, hey, what are you doing back? I said, well, I just spoke to the guys at WWE, and they want me to come back on the road. And I was wondering if you could release me. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're not ready to wrestle, man. I said, no, I'm not going to be wrestling. I'm just going to be, on the sidelines, or maybe, ringside, or whatever it is, doing some work, some vignettes backstage, whatever it is. And he goes, I don't know. I don't recommend it. And I said, well, doc, I'd really like to go. I really appreciate if you could just sign my release. So he signs release me. I go outside. I get in my truck. That's it. I'm driving home. I remember I have to make a stop at my buddy's engine shop because I was going to pick up one of my motors for this bike I was building. So I go in my buddy's shop. I walk out of the shop. My phone rings again. This time it's Johnny Ace. All of a sudden it clicked. It clicked right there. He answered the phone. I started giggling. I started laughing because I knew what was coming.
Shit.
So I start laughing. He starts laughing a little bit. He goes, hey, Chuck. Hey, man, I got some bad news for you because we're going to have to let you go. I said, Johnny, I said, congratulations, you got me. I said, you got me. I said, just promise me you're going to pay me my 90 days, my severance, my 90-day severance. Oh, yeah. That's how it went. That's how they did it. And again, I hold no grudges. It was a life experience and a learning experience for me. But that tells you how that business is,
Right. I remember when I heard this story, I was like, that is outrageous. And if you're not going to hold the grudge, Chuck, I will. Okay. You're going to take the high road. I'm going to take the low road. Okay. I'm Johnny Ace. And on that day with Chuck, I was a real dick bag. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that people, I guess that's someone's job. That's what you do. But I just always believed in just being honest with people and acting in good faith, right?
Of course.
So it's
absolutely.
like, and I'm not a religious person or anything like that, but just come on. So anyway, that's part of the business. That's why, I really have to appreciate, I don't want to go on a tangent, but these guys who continue to wrestle and all the guys who've ever wrestled, you have to really appreciate them because they're the hardest workers in the world, and they will wrestle no matter what, no matter what. I mean, these guys would be willing, if they told them, hey, some guys, we're going to have to stop paying you for a couple of weeks, but we'd really like to keep you aboard. All these guys would do it. That's the kind of guys, they'll show up anywhere, injured or not, and do anything you ask them, sacrifice their bodies. And, for an owner like Vince McMahon or a company to have people like that are willing to do that is amazing because, in the corporate world and stuff like that, I mean, if someone looks at you the wrong way or you don't address someone by the proper term or there's a lawsuit or there's, you're out on sick leave or you're out on, So to get guys and girls who are willing to do what they do with no benefits, and no guarantees, because none of these contracts are guarantees. So no benefits, no guarantees, no health insurance, none of this. It's like, it's amazing. So I commend of all the talents for what they do.
Absolutely. 100%, bro. You're on the button there. We've only got a couple questions left, Chuck.
Sure.
I've read somewhere that there was an opportunity to possibly go to TNA. Why did you never sign with them?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know if that's 100% correct. Someone else asked me about that. I believe Johnny Stamboli was working on that for us. He was talking with Terry Taylor. I think that's how it started. And I think that was kind of in the works. But honestly, I just didn't get a good feeling from management over there. Yeah, I didn't get a good feeling about working there. And I decided, I don't know if I asked Johnny that or told him I wasn't interested, or I just don't remember anything coming of it. Yeah.
Fair enough. I know you still wrestle a little bit after your time in WWE. What led you to making the decision to retire and to no longer perform in the wrestling business?
Honestly, so I started to realize that if you made the same effort that you in life that you did in the wrestling business, that you're going to be successful no matter what you do. And once I realized that I could apply everything I learned in the wrestling business to other things in life, it was a no-brainer. It was really just a no-brainer. So, the one thing about the wrestling business is you learn so much about how to market yourself, how to communicate with other people, how to break down barriers between races, how to get along with just about anybody, how to blend in with just about anybody if you have to. So all these things you learn are so valuable in the real world. And I realized that it clicked, and I said, oh no. I said, what am I doing? I said, why would you want to continue to fight to be in a business that doesn't necessarily want to fight to have you there? Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So once I realized that, I said, oh man, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm still young. Let me go ahead and apply my efforts in other places. And I'm so glad I did.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get to that point where I'm going to get you to plug everything that you've done since you had left the WWE. But one story I wanted to ask you about, I'd seen somewhere that in 2016, there was a car accident. And there was a lady who was in this car accident. And I wanted to bring this up because when I first saw you, you look like Tarzan. You look like a superhero. This is a superhero moment right here where apparently you lifted up the car and you also got her out of the car. You lifted her up out of the car. You saved a woman from this car wreck. Please, can you tell me that story? I'd love to hear that.
Honestly, it was a rural road. I live in a rural area. So it's a rural road. I'm driving down the road. I get around this corner, which is kind of a dangerous corner. And I see a car flipped on its side. And that's basically it. And I saw because, it was I don't know where I was going. It was going to my shop or something, but there was cars just passing and not stopping. I'm going. So I pull over and I looked in the car and there was a girl in there and she was I think her arm was kind of pinned under the one side of the car, the side of it.
Oh shit.
So I didn't, it's not like I picked up the car, you know what I mean? But I was able to, I was able to get her arm free.
Right. Yeah.
And then I was able to climb in the passenger door because the car was on its side. So one door obviously can't open. And the only thing I remember is trying to get in the passenger side. When the car's on its side, those damn doors are heavy. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, she was in there. And the only thing I remember was she was trying to get her cell phone. I'm like, let's just get you out of the car. She's like, I want to get my phone. I was like, oh God. Anyway, we got her phone, we got her, and we got her out of the car. And then I took off as fast as I could because, I didn't want media showing up or, whatever. So I took off. That was it.
Didn't want the media showing up and being like the hero that is one Chuck Palumbo right
now. Not that they would have known that I was a wrestler or anything like that, but you know how it goes.
Absolutely. Okay, Chuck, before we get to 5 Second Frenzy, I want you to have the floor right now to tell everyone out there your endeavors in your post-wrestling career. You've done a few TV shows and such, and please plug everything that you're doing today.
Yeah, so some people may or may not know, but so I was always into cars and motorcycles. So I got into that business and started doing a lot of car and motorcycle building towards the end of my wrestling career. And that's kind of why I started the bike thing, and it kind of led into that. So continued like I am now in the shop today, right? Doing the building and all that stuff. Discovery Channel reached out to me a few years after I got out of wrestling and said, hey, you know, we think you got this bombastic personality. We'd like to come meet you. We know you're into bikes and cars. And they came to meet me and said, wow, we didn't know you actually build these yourself. And they said, we have some ideas and we'd like to work with you. And that's how that came about. So I did a show called Lords of the Car Hordes. And then we did another season called Rusted Development. We kind of renamed it. And it was the great thing about that show was that it was a worldwide show. So it was shown in over, I can't remember how many countries, but it was worldwide. So they would actually, you know, change the language for all the different countries.
Wow.
So which was fantastic. So I know it, you can still watch it, I think, on like Amazon Prime, and still runs in different countries and stuff like that. But anyway, excellent opportunity. Had a great time. And let's see, continued with the bikes and cars. And then just recently, I decided, you know something? People are always asking me what I'm up to and what I'm doing. Let me do a little YouTube show. It's a little mom and pop YouTube show and kind of show people what I do.
Yeah.
Because I dabble in real estate. I build houses. I build, you know, I got the shop. I do the car and motorcycle stuff. I work in the trades a lot. I grew up in the trades. Tons of friends who are in the trades. I'm basically a blue collar guy. That's what I like to do. Like when I get up in the morning, I put work boots on. That's what I do. You know what I mean? I go to work. So anyway, I wanted to kind of show people what I've been up to. And the timing at the time I had purchased this house that was built in 1924. And I remodeled it, and then I built a shop. This shop right here, we actually built this shop on the property. And now we're getting ready to outfit this shop, and we're going to start building cars and motorcycles and anything in this shop. So that show is called Chuck of All Trades, and it's on YouTube. It's a small time show right now. It's just we're doing like video blog type stuff right now. Eventually, when we get this shop turnkey, we'll set up, you know, cameras and have good audio and get down to some real good car and motorcycle building. So yeah.
Excellent.
So that's it, really. I'm a simple guy, man. I like to roll my sleeves up and fix things, build things, create things. I love creating things. And all the guys I've ever hung out with are the same way. So that's what we do. We'll build stuff. By the end of the day, we'll crack a Coors Light, and we'll kind of look at what we did and admire it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fantastic.
And that's the kind of guy I've always been. And yeah, that's it. I had a band called Three Spoke Wheel. Unfortunately, the lead singer, he moved to Hawaii, I think. So we don't have a full band. It's just me and another guitarist. So we do a bit of jamming here and there, and hopefully I'll get a band back together soon once I find time for that.
Right, that's such a shame, bro, because I actually am a lead singer. My band broke up in October. Man, if I lived over there, I'd slot right in, I think.
Well, yeah, I think you would, man. You know, but maybe in the meantime, we can do that stuff like all the big bands were doing during COVID, how they were like, they had like, you know, 5 faces on one screen and they were all playing their instrument. We should do that.
We could totally do that, bro. That'll be an honor.
We'll send you a set list, man.
Sounds good, bro. But all of that stuff that you've just mentioned, everyone, if you're looking right down there here on YouTube, right in the description, you can find the links to everything that Chuck has just mentioned, and please check it out. So Chuck, we're coming to the end of the interview here, and we have the segment 5-Second Frenzy. You have 5 seconds to answer each question. Even if you break the 5-second rule, it's okay. I've had some wrestlers on the show, obviously, and sometimes wrestlers take longer than 5 seconds to answer things, so it's okay. First one here, Chuck Palumbo. Who was your favorite wrestler?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. I think in his prime, probably Scott Hall in his prime.
Excellent, bro. Excellent.
And then, if not, secondly would be Kurt Hennig.
Another fantastic choice. They're definitely both in my top 5. Favorite opponent that you had over the years?
Probably Undertaker.
Nice. Favorite match that you ever had? I know that's a tough one.
I don't even, I really don't have one, but I do remember having a pretty stiff match with Brock Lesnar, which I enjoyed. It's funny. The first question about favorite wrestlers, I think somebody asked me that in the past, and I might have said Macho Man Randy Savage. I think looking at it from a fan standpoint, it would have been Macho Man.
Right.
But then looking at it from guys that I knew that was still in the business, that's where I came up with the other answers.
Absolutely. I'll have to send you a video of when I used to wrestle, and you can see my right hand because I copied Scott Hall as well.
You got a good one?
I got a good one, bro. I got that clap on the leg. And you don't notice it because everyone's looking at this fantastic right hand coming through.
That's it. Awesome.
Awesome, bro. Getting away from wrestling finally. What is your favorite book?
Oh gosh, I like reading like bios and stuff. Like I really enjoyed Keith Richards' bio. I did read a book recently though called Gang Leader for a Day. It was written by an Indian gentleman. I can't remember his name. It was fantastic. I'm into different things like that. I don't know. I'm all over the place.
I'm a big autobiography guy, and if I could recommend anything, Dee Snider's book, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, fantastic autobiography. Billy Idol's also really. I love that one as well. Some crazy stories.
I'll check them out for sure. Yeah.
Excellent. Favorite TV show?
Sopranos.
Excellent choice. I feel like we have a lot in common here.
Absolutely.
Favorite film?
That's a tough one. Many, but it would be a toss-up between Training Day and Goodfellas.
Nice. Why did I had the name Goodfellas in my head as I asked it, and you said it. We're vibing here. Maybe I can become the lead singer of the
Yeah, man.
Speaking of music, bro, favorite musical artist? I know you're a rock guy.
Yeah. Oh man. So, yeah, artist singular, maybe Joe Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
I love the original Guns N' Roses. I'm a big ZZ Top fan. I'm a big Eagles fan. I love all classic rock from like mid '60s on up. Cream and Boston and
dude. Yeah.
I love all that classic rock. I even love the blues stuff. Like I saw before BB King died, I probably saw him like 5 times. Buddy Guy.
That's lucky, man.
And then I even like stuff like like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I like all that stuff from that era. Anything from like 87 when Appetite for Destruction came out. Anything from then and then back.
Good call, bro. Fantastic. Love it. That's
Zeppelin. Zeppelin's great.
That's it. That's all my jam.
AC/DC.
Yeah,
AC/DC. All those bands.
Yeah. We could probably do a whole other interview just talking about music, I think.
I'm a big music buff. Anytime you want, man.
Excellent, bro. Getting away from the arts, favorite food?
Only because I'm an Italian. I'm gonna go Italian first. I say Italian first, but Southern California Mexican is a close second.
Very good. Favorite place to eat on the road?
Cracker Barrel.
It's always a popular answer, along with Denny's.
Yeah. On the road. Yeah.
On the road, yes. Along with Denny's and of course,
Waffle House.
Waffle House, of course. Yeah. Third last one. Favorite alcoholic beverage?
I'm a Coors Light guy, man.
Very nice. I love myself.
I'm not a big heavy drinker or anything like that. So if I'm gonna have a couple beers, it's gonna be Coors Light. Although my buddy is a big tequila and mezcal buff. Cantina Mayuel, San Diego. If you ever go to San Diego, Cantina Mayuel in North Park, Adams and 30th.
Okay. Coors Light was the favorite alcoholic beverage.
Sure.
The second last one on 5 Second Frenzy is the naughtiest one, although sometimes the answer can be quite meaningful depending on how you feel. But favorite female body part?
Ooh, there's a few.
List them. Let's start a list.
I'd say let's go with the butt. Fantastic. Let's go with the breasts.
Oh, of course, yep.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there.
Yep, fantastic. And I'm not surprised that you picked the butt because I've seen you check someone's out a few times before. So, although it was Billy's
it
butt.
happens. It happens. Yeah.
And Chuck, the last one on 5 Second Frenzy, your favorite curse word?
Probably an F-bomb if I have to. I try not to drop them, but what they feel right. You know what I mean? When you feel like you get the point across. But as I've gotten older, man, I try not to. I just because I got a few friends who drop them all the time, and it's always like when I hear them, I'm like, damn, man, that sounds rough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand, sir.
So, but yeah, once in a while, you just got to. Right?
When it calls for it, it's got to be an F-bomb. Fantastic. Chuck Palumbo, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me here today. This meant a lot to me. And, earlier I was like, man, I can't believe I'm going to get to interview Chuck Palumbo. I really feel like I'm getting somewhere with this podcast when, you have bucket list guys that you list off when you first start it, and then you eventually get there. So that's why it means a lot to me. And I knew that you and I had a bit in common. We're both Italian. We both like rock music. I knew that when you had the big slash top hat. And, this is the meaningful part of the show where I tell you, I live in Perth, Western Australia, the most isolated city in the world. So for you to have the reach to go this far and have someone over here be a massive fan of yours, I just want to say I hope you're so proud of everything that you've accomplished in the wrestling business and in life. You're still doing great things now. You're still passionate and creative. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate everything you've done, and I hope you're proud.
Well, man, something that means a lot to me, and it really means a lot to me because for me, I think about this, and I've told people before. Anytime someone's genuinely interested in what I have to say or what I've done or my career or my past or anything, my thoughts on things, that's very special to be able to have that. So I thank you. My hat's off to you. I appreciate it sincerely. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Chuck. Appreciate you so much, brother. And I'll be in touch with you again soon. Thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. Great questions, by the way. I thought all the questions were fantastic. Good questions. Thank you, man.
Thanks, bro. And
all right, Carl.
Thank you, everyone out there, for watching the Insider's Edge podcast here on the WZWA Network in conjunction with Blue Wire Hustle. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, California in Fury, with my new friend, Chuck Palumbo, and we will see you next time. Thank you.